The most successful people you know might be hiding the darkest psychological secrets. And if they are born under the sign of Capricorn, what lurks beneath their polished exterior will shock you to your core. While the world sees their impressive achievements, steady climb up corporate ladders, and seemingly unshakable composure, there's a complex web of shadows that most Capricorns would rather die than reveal to anyone. These aren't just minor personality flaws or quirky traits that astrology enthusiasts debate in online forums. We're talking about profound psychological patterns that shape every decision, every relationship, and every moment of a Capricorn's existence. The very traits that make them appear so admirable and put together are often the same mechanisms they use to conceal truths so uncomfortable that acknowledging them would shatter the carefully constructed identity they've spent years building. Think about the Capricorns in your life for a moment. Notice how they always seem to have everything under control, how they rarely show vulnerability, how they approach problems with calculated precision that borders on the mechanical. What you're witnessing isn't natural confidence or innate wisdom. It's an elaborate performance designed to keep you from seeing what's really happening behind those composed eyes. The mountain goat symbol of Capricorn is more fitting than most people realize. Just like their animal counterpart, Capricorns are constantly climbing, always reaching for higher ground, but they're also acutely aware of how far they could fall. Every step upward is taken with the knowledge that one wrong move could send them tumbling into an abyss of exposure and judgment. This awareness creates a psychological pressure that would crush most other zodiac signs, but Capricorns have learned to transform that pressure into fuel for their relentless pursuit of success. Saturn's influence over this sign goes deeper than traditional astrology suggests. It's not just about discipline and responsibility. It's about creating protective barriers so sophisticated that even Capricorns themselves sometimes forget what they're protecting. They've become masters of emotional compartmentalization, capable of separating their public persona from their private torment with surgical precision. The really disturbing part is how well this system works for them in the short term. Their hidden psychological patterns often drive them toward extraordinary achievements, making it nearly impossible for outsiders to recognize that something might be fundamentally wrong beneath the surface. Society rewards their behavior, validates their choices, and holds them up as examples of how to live successfully, never realizing they're applauding someone who might be slowly destroying themselves from the inside out. What makes these revelations particularly unsettling is how universal they are among Capricorns. This isn't about individual trauma or unique circumstances. These patterns emerge so consistently across different Capricorns that they appear to be hardwired into the very essence of what it means to be born under this sign. If you're ready to peer behind the curtain and discover what your Capricorn friends, family members, or romantic partners have been desperately trying to hide, make sure to subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac and hit that like button. What I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the most mysterious sign of the Zodiac, starting with 2 truths that will make you question every interaction you've ever had with a Capricorn. The first shocking revelation involves how they really view the people closest to them, and the second will explain why crossing a Capricorn is far more dangerous than you ever imagined. The first reason: they calculate every relationship, like a business transaction. Behind those warm smiles and seemingly genuine conversations, Capricorns are running sophisticated mental spreadsheets on everyone they encounter. While you're sharing your deepest fears or celebrating your biggest wins with them, they're unconsciously performing cost-benefit analyses that would make corporate executives proud. This isn't malicious intent. It's an ingrained psychological mechanism that treats human connections as investments requiring measurable returns. When a Capricorn listens to your problems, they're simultaneously calculating how much emotional energy this conversation is costing them versus what value you bring to their life ecosystem. Are you someone who can advance their career goals? Do you provide intellectual stimulation that matches their standards? Can you offer social connections that enhance their reputation? These questions run like background software in their minds, processing data about your usefulness while maintaining perfect eye contact and nodding at all the right moments. This transactional approach extends into their romantic relationships in ways that would horrify their partners if discovered. Capricorns unconsciously evaluate potential romantic interests based on compatibility metrics that include earning potential, social status, family background, and long-term stability prospects. They're not gold diggers or social climbers in the traditional sense. They're strategic life planners who can't separate their hearts from their heads when making crucial decisions about who deserves access to their carefully guarded inner world. The most disturbing aspect of this behavioral pattern is how naturally it occurs. Capricorns don't wake up deciding to treat people like business opportunities. Saturn's influence has conditioned them to view relationships through the lens of mutual benefit and sustainable exchange. They've internalized the belief that every human interaction should contribute to their overall life strategy, making it nearly impossible for them to form connections based purely on emotional resonance or spontaneous chemistry. This explains why Capricorns often seem emotionally distant, even during intimate moments. Part of their consciousness is always observing, analyzing, and categorizing the interaction according to its practical value. They struggle to be fully present because their minds are busy calculating whether this person, this conversation, this emotional investment aligns with their broader life objectives. The second reason, they hold grudges for decades and plan perfect revenge. The second dark truth about Capricorns will chill you to the bone and explain why crossing them is exponentially more dangerous than provoking any other zodiac sign. While Aries explodes immediately and Scorpios plot intense but relatively quick revenge, Capricorns operate on a timeline that spans decades, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to deliver devastating payback when their target is most vulnerable and least expecting retaliation. Capricorns possess emotional memories that function like high-definition recording devices, capturing not just what someone did to hurt them, but every detail surrounding the betrayal, the location, the witnesses, the exact words spoken, the weather that day, what they were wearing. These memories don't fade or soften with time like they do for other signs. Instead, they crystallize into permanent psychological files that Capricorns can access with startling clarity years or even decades later. What makes their revenge so terrifying is the methodical precision with which they execute it. Unlike impulsive signs that strike when emotions are running high, Capricorns approach payback like military strategists planning a complex campaign. They study their target's behavioral patterns, identify crucial vulnerabilities, map out social and professional networks, and wait for the exact moment when their revenge will cause maximum damage with minimum risk to themselves. Consider how a Capricorn might handle workplace betrayal. If a colleague steals credit for their idea or sabotages an important project, other signs might confront the person immediately or complain to management. A Capricorn will smile, congratulate the thief publicly, and begin a years-long intelligence-gathering operation. They'll document every mistake their enemy makes, cultivate relationships with key decision-makers, position themselves strategically within the organization, and wait for the perfect opportunity to orchestrate their target's professional destruction. The most chilling aspect of Capricorn revenge is how they can maintain friendly relationships with people they're secretly planning to destroy. They'll attend your birthday parties, send holiday cards, offer career advice, and even provide emotional support during difficult times, all while carefully collecting information that will eventually be weaponized against you. Their ability to compartmentalize emotions and maintain long-term strategic thinking makes them capable of playing the longest games imaginable. This grudge-holding behavior stems from their deep need for justice and their inability to accept that bad actions sometimes go unpunished. While other signs might eventually forgive and forget, Capricorns view unpunished betrayals as cosmic imbalances that must be corrected. They see themselves as instruments of karmic justice, ensuring that people who escape immediate consequences for their actions eventually face appropriate punishment. The truly disturbing part is how much satisfaction Capricorns derive from finally executing their revenge plans. Years of patient planning culminate in moments of pure psychological pleasure. as they watch their carefully orchestrated consequences unfold. They don't just want their targets to suffer. They want them to understand exactly why they're suffering and to recognize the Capricorn's superior strategic thinking that made their downfall possible. This pattern explains why Capricorns often seem to have fewer close relationships as they age. Their inability to truly forgive, combined with their talent for holding grudges, creates an ever-expanding list of people they consider enemies or threats. Former friends become permanent adversaries. Ex-romantic partners become cautionary tales, and even family members can find themselves on the wrong side of a Capricorn's long memory. The most tragic aspect of this psychological pattern is how it ultimately isolates Capricorns from genuine human connection. When you're constantly evaluating people as potential threats and cataloging their mistakes for future reference, it becomes nearly impossible to experience the vulnerability and trust that authentic relationships require. Their need for control and their compulsion to seek revenge transforms them into emotional islands, surrounded by acquaintances but lacking true intimacy. Understanding these two fundamental truths about Capricorn psychology reveals why they often appear so composed and controlled in social situations. They are not naturally calm. They are constantly processing social interactions through filters of usefulness and potential threat assessment. Every smile, every laugh, every moment of apparent spontaneity is filtered through psychological systems designed to protect them from betrayal, while maximizing their strategic advantages in the complex game they believe all relationships ultimately represent. The third reason, their success masks deep feelings of never being good enough. The gleaming awards on their shelves, the impressive job titles on their business cards, and the steady accumulation of achievements that make others green with envy, all of it serves as elaborate camouflage for the most devastating secret that haunts every Capricorn's existence. No matter how high they climb or how much they accomplish, there's a relentless voice inside their heads whispering that they're frauds, imposters who have somehow tricked the world into believing they're competent when they're actually just one mistake away from being exposed as complete failures. This psychological phenomenon runs so deep in Capricorn psychology that it shapes their entire approach to life, work, and relationships. While other people might celebrate their victories and feel satisfied with their achievements, Capricorns experience a twisted form of success anxiety, where every accomplishment only raises the stakes higher and makes the eventual fall feel more catastrophic. They live in constant fear that someone will discover they don't actually deserve their position, that their success was just luck, timing, or an elaborate mistake that will eventually be corrected by the universe. The irony is devastating. The very traits that make Capricorns so successful in traditional metrics are fueled by their deepest insecurities. Their legendary work ethic isn't born from natural ambition or love of achievement. It's a desperate attempt to outrun the terrifying possibility that someone will realize they're not as capable as they appear. Every late night at the office, every extra project they volunteer for, every skill they master is another piece of armor against the moment when their inadequacies might be revealed. Watch a Capricorn receive praise for their work, and you'll witness this psychological torture in real time. While they smile and say thank you, internally they're dissecting every word, searching for hidden criticism or signs that the compliment isn't genuine. They assume the person praising them doesn't have access to complete information, that if they really knew what went into the project or understood the mistakes that were covered up, they would withdraw their admiration immediately. This imposter syndrome creates a vicious cycle that becomes more intense as Capricorns achieve greater success. Entry-level positions feel manageable because the expectations are relatively low, but as they climb higher in their careers, the gap between their internal self-perception and external expectations becomes a psychological chasm that threatens to swallow them whole. The corner office that others see as the ultimate validation becomes a prison where they are constantly terrified that today might be the day their incompetence is finally discovered. The most heartbreaking aspect of this psychological pattern is how it robs Capricorns of the ability to enjoy their own achievements. While their friends and family celebrate promotions, awards, and milestones, Capricorns are already mentally moving to the next challenge, driven by the unconscious belief that stopping to celebrate would give people time to notice their flaws. They treat success like a treadmill that can never be stopped without risking exposure. This explains why Capricorns often seem emotionally flat when receiving recognition or achieving major goals. They can't access genuine joy or satisfaction because their psychological systems are designed to immediately identify the next threat, the next standard they need to meet, the next level where they might finally be exposed as frauds. Their brains have been conditioned to treat achievement not as evidence of competence, but as temporary reprieve from inevitable judgment. The professional world unknowingly enables this destructive pattern by rewarding Capricorn behavior without understanding its psychological origins. Bosses praise their reliability, colleagues admire their attention to detail, and clients appreciate their thoroughness, never realizing they're reinforcing a cycle of self-punishment that's slowly destroying the person they're complimenting. The external validation that should heal their imposter syndrome instead becomes evidence that they've successfully fooled another person, which only increases their anxiety about eventual discovery. This psychological burden becomes even more crushing when Capricorns reach positions of authority where others look to them for leadership and guidance. The weight of being responsible for other people's careers and decisions, while secretly believing they are unqualified for their own position, creates a level of stress that would incapacitate most other zodiac signs. They find themselves in the impossible situation of needing to project confidence and competence while internally questioning every decision and second-guessing every instinct. The imposter syndrome also explains why Capricorns struggle with delegation and teamwork. If you secretly believe you're incompetent, trusting others to handle important tasks feels like creating opportunities for your inadequacies to be exposed by comparison. They'd rather work themselves to exhaustion than risk someone else doing a better job and revealing that the Capricorn wasn't as essential as everyone believed. Sleep becomes another casualty of this psychological warfare. While other people can rest easy after a successful day, Capricorns lie awake reviewing every interaction, every decision, every moment that might have revealed their supposed incompetence to observant colleagues. They replay conversations obsessively, searching for signs that people are beginning to see through their carefully constructed facade of competence. The tragic truth is that most Capricorns are actually extraordinarily capable individuals whose standards for themselves are so impossibly high that no amount of external validation can penetrate their psychological defenses. They judge themselves by criteria that would be considered unrealistic for anyone else, then use their inevitable human mistakes as evidence that their worst fears about their incompetence are justified. This internal torture creates a parallel existence where their public life is filled with recognition and advancement, while their private, emotional world is dominated by anxiety, self-doubt, and the exhausting effort of maintaining a performance they believe is fundamentally dishonest. They become method actors playing the role of successful people, so committed to the performance that they lose touch with any authentic sense of their own capabilities and worth. The most devastating consequence is how this imposter syndrome prevents Capricorns from forming genuine connections with colleagues and mentors who could help them recognize their actual competence. They're so afraid that closer relationships might reveal their supposed inadequacies that they maintain professional distance, even when others are trying to offer support, guidance, or simple human connection. Understanding this psychological pattern explains why successful Capricorns often seem surprisingly insecure, or why they react so intensely to minor criticism. What appears to others as perfectionism or high standards is actually a desperate survival mechanism designed to stay one step ahead of the exposure they're convinced is inevitable. Their entire professional persona is built on quicksand that only they can feel shifting beneath their feet. The fourth reason: they sacrifice their own happiness to maintain their image. The golden handcuffs that bind Capricorns aren't made of money or material possessions. They're forged from the desperate need to maintain a flawless public image that validates their worth in the eyes of society. These individuals will systematically dismantle their own joy, abandon their authentic desires, and endure years of soul-crushing misery rather than risk tarnishing the carefully curated reputation they've spent decades building. What the world sees as admirable dedication to success is actually a form of psychological self-imprisonment that would horrify anyone who truly understood its cost. Picture the Capricorn lawyer who dreamed of becoming an artist but chose law school because it offered prestige and parental approval. 20 years later, they're making partner at a prestigious firm, while their creative spirit withers in climate-controlled offices that feel like beautifully appointed tombs. They own the house in the right neighborhood, drive the appropriate luxury car, and attend social functions where everyone congratulates them on their success, never knowing that each compliment feels like another nail in the coffin of their authentic self. The most insidious aspect of this pattern is how Capricorns convince themselves that their sacrifice is noble, even necessary. They rationalize their choices using logical arguments about stability, responsibility, and long-term planning. But beneath these reasonable explanations lies a terror so profound that they'd rather live someone else's definition of success than risk the judgment that might come with pursuing their genuine passions. They've internalized society's values so completely that they can no longer distinguish between what they actually want and what they believe they should want. This image maintenance extends into their personal relationships in ways that create elaborate performances where authentic intimacy becomes impossible. Capricorns will stay in marriages that look perfect on social media while dying of loneliness behind closed doors. They'll maintain friendships with people they don't particularly like because these relationships enhance their social standing. They'll attend events they find tedious, support causes they don't believe in, and express opinions that align with their desired image rather than their genuine beliefs. The psychological cost of this constant performance is staggering. Capricorns become emotional method actors who've been playing their roles so long they've forgotten their original personalities. They develop elaborate internal monitoring systems that constantly evaluate whether their words, actions, and choices align with their desired public image, creating a form of self-surveillance that never allows for spontaneity or authentic self-expression. Consider how this manifests in their career choices. A Capricorn might excel in a field they find spiritually bankrupt simply because it offers the status and recognition their self-worth depends upon. They'll climb corporate ladders that lead to executive positions, managing industries they secretly despise, but the alternative, admitting they chose wrong and starting over, feels like social suicide. The sunk cost fallacy becomes their prison warden, keeping them trapped in prestigious misery because changing course would require acknowledging that their previous choices weren't perfect. The fifth reason, they secretly judge everyone around them as inferior. Behind their diplomatic smiles and supportive nods lurks a psychological superiority complex that would shock the people who consider them humble and encouraging friends. Capricorns operate with internal ranking systems that categorize everyone they encounter according to ambition, work ethic, intelligence, and success metrics that they've established as the ultimate measures of human worth. While maintaining facades of equality and acceptance, they're constantly evaluating others and finding most people disappointingly mediocre compared to their own standards. This silent judgment isn't conscious malice. It's an automatic psychological process that stems from their relentless self-improvement drives and their inability to understand why others don't share in their compulsive need for achievement. When a coworker complains about working late, Capricorns internally classify them as lazy. When friends make career decisions based on passion rather than advancement potential, they're mentally filed under short-sighted and impractical. When family members prioritize work-life balance over maximum productivity, Capricorns struggle to hide their contempt for what they perceive as weakness and lack of dedication. The most disturbing aspect of this psychological pattern is how expertly Capricorns conceal their true opinions while maintaining relationships with people they privately consider beneath them. They've mastered the art of appearing supportive while internally critiquing every choice, every excuse, every moment of what they perceive as insufficient effort or misplaced priorities. They'll offer encouragement and advice, while secretly believing the person lacks the discipline and vision necessary for real success. This superiority complex extends to their romantic relationships in ways that create profound emotional distance, even during moments of apparent intimacy. Capricorns often choose partners who meet their status requirements rather than individuals who truly complement their personalities, then spend years feeling intellectually or professionally superior while wondering why the relationship lacks genuine connection. They love their partners in theory, but struggle to respect them in practice, creating relationships built on obligation and image rather than authentic compatibility and mutual admiration. Watch a Capricorn in group conversations, and you'll witness this psychological dynamic in action. While others are sharing struggles, making excuses, or expressing uncertainty about their futures, Capricorns are mentally calculating how their own achievements compare to everyone else's limitations. They participate in discussions about work stress or life challenges, while internally categorizing their problems as more significant and their solutions as more sophisticated than anything others are dealing with. The workplace becomes a particularly rich environment for Capricorn judgment, where they observe colleagues with the analytical precision of anthropologists studying a foreign culture. They notice who arrives late, who takes long lunches, who avoids difficult projects, who makes excuses for mediocre performance, and they file all of this information away as evidence of their own superior work ethic and dedication. Their legendary reliability isn't just about personal standards. It's about proving their superiority over colleagues they perceive as lazy or uncommitted. This psychological pattern creates a fundamental loneliness that Capricorns rarely acknowledge even to themselves. When you secretly consider most people inferior, genuine friendship becomes nearly impossible because true connection requires vulnerability and mutual respect that their superiority complex won't allow. They maintain extensive social networks filled with people they don't actually respect, creating lives that look socially rich but feel emotionally hollow. The most tragic consequence is how this hidden judgment prevents Capricorns from learning from others or being influenced by different perspectives. They're so convinced of their own superior approach to life that they dismiss alternative viewpoints without serious consideration, missing opportunities for growth and connection that could enrich their understanding of human experience beyond their narrow definitions of success and worth. Their internal criticism extends even to people they claim to love and support. Family members who choose unconventional career paths become sources of private embarrassment. Friends who prioritize happiness over advancement become cautionary tales in their minds. Romantic partners who don't share their ambition become projects to be improved rather than individuals to be appreciated for their unique qualities. Understanding this psychological pattern explains why Capricorns often seem emotionally distant, even when they are physically present and verbally supportive. Part of their consciousness is always engaged in comparative analysis that positions them as superior to the people they're supposedly connecting with, making authentic emotional intimacy nearly impossible to achieve or maintain. The sixth reason: they are terrified of emotional vulnerability and use control as protection. The final and most devastating truth about Capricorns reveals the psychological fortress they've constructed around their hearts. Walls so high and defenses so sophisticated that even they sometimes forget what's locked inside. Their legendary need for control isn't about dominance or power in the traditional sense. It's a desperate survival mechanism designed to prevent the emotional devastation they're convinced would destroy them if they ever allowed themselves to be truly vulnerable with another human being. This terror of emotional exposure manifests in ways that would astound the people who consider themselves close to Capricorns. Every conversation, every relationship, every moment of potential intimacy is carefully orchestrated to maintain maximum control over how much of their authentic self gets revealed. They've become emotional architects, designing interactions that give others the illusion of closeness while keeping their deepest fears, insecurities, and desires safely hidden behind layers of practical conversation and surface-level sharing. Consider how a Capricorn handles the early stages of romantic relationships. While their partner is sharing childhood traumas, family dynamics, and personal dreams, the Capricorn is strategically revealing carefully selected pieces of information that create the appearance of openness without actually exposing anything that could be used to hurt them later. They'll discuss their career goals in detail, share opinions about current events, even reveal some historical facts about their past. But the emotional core of who they are remains locked away like classified information. This psychological pattern stems from their deep-seated belief that emotional vulnerability is a form of weakness that inevitably leads to manipulation, abandonment, or betrayal. They've convinced themselves that people who truly know them, with all their fears, insecurities, and imperfections, will either lose respect for them or use that information as weapons during future conflicts. The risk feels so catastrophic that they'd rather maintain emotional distance from everyone, including the people they claim to love most. The control mechanisms they employ are incredibly sophisticated and often invisible to the people being controlled. Capricorns master the art of redirecting conversations away from topics that might require emotional honesty. They become experts at asking questions that keep others talking about themselves, deflecting attention from their own inner world. They'll share practical problems or professional challenges while carefully avoiding any discussion of how these situations make them feel or what they reveal about their deeper psychological needs. Watch a Capricorn navigate a conflict with someone they care about, and you'll witness this emotional fortress in full defensive mode. Instead of expressing hurt, disappointment, or fear, emotions that would require vulnerability, they'll transform the discussion into logical analysis of behavior patterns, practical solutions to relationship problems, or rational explanations for why the other person's actions were inappropriate. They intellectualize emotions until they become manageable, controllable data points, rather than chaotic feelings that might overwhelm their carefully maintained composure. This control addiction extends into every area of their lives, with devastating consequences for their ability to experience genuine intimacy. They plan dates rather than allowing spontaneous connection. They schedule emotional conversations instead of letting feelings emerge naturally. They create relationship rules and boundaries that protect them from unexpected vulnerability, while systematically preventing the kind of messy, uncontrolled emotional experiences that create deep human bonds. The most heartbreaking aspect of this psychological pattern is how it isolates Capricorns even when they're surrounded by people who genuinely care about them. Family members, friends, and romantic partners often sense that there's something unreachable about the Capricorns they love, but they can't identify what creates that invisible barrier. The Capricorn appears present, engaged, and caring, but there's always a sense that they're holding something essential back. The complete connection remains just out of reach. This emotional withdrawal becomes more pronounced during times of crisis or stress, precisely when authentic support would be most beneficial. When facing job loss, health problems, family emergencies, or other major life challenges, Capricorns retreat further into their control mechanisms rather than reaching out for the emotional support that could help them navigate difficult circumstances. They'll accept practical assistance, help with logistics, advice about solutions, resources for problem solving, but they'll reject attempts at emotional comfort or psychological support that would require acknowledging their vulnerability. The workplace becomes another arena where this control pattern plays out in ways that limit their professional growth and satisfaction. Capricorns often avoid leadership roles that would require emotional intelligence or interpersonal vulnerability, preferring positions where they can maintain control through technical expertise and procedural authority. They struggle with team-building activities, avoid mentoring relationships that might require personal sharing, and resist collaborative projects that could expose their emotional responses to workplace stress or conflict. Their romantic relationships suffer the most devastating consequences from this psychological fortress. Partners often describe feeling like they're dating a beautiful, accomplished stranger who shares their bed but never their heart. The Capricorn can discuss future plans, household logistics, even physical intimacy without ever revealing what they actually need emotionally or what fears keep them awake at night. They create relationships that function efficiently but lack the emotional depth that transforms partnerships into true life companionships. The control mechanisms become self-reinforcing over time, creating a vicious cycle where each successful manipulation of emotional circumstances convinces the Capricorn that vulnerability is indeed dangerous and must be avoided at all costs. They interpret their ability to maintain emotional distance as evidence of their superiority over people who wear their hearts on their sleeves, never recognizing that their control is actually a prison that prevents them from experiencing the full spectrum of human connection. Perhaps the most tragic consequence is how this emotional fortress ultimately defeats its own purpose. The walls built to protect them from emotional pain become the source of their deepest suffering. They achieve the safety they desperately sought, but discover that safety without vulnerability isn't protection, it's isolation. They remain untouchable, but also unreachable, safe but fundamentally alone in ways that gradually hollow out their capacity for joy, wonder, and authentic human connection. The irony is devastating. The very people who appear most put together, most successful, most admirable from the outside are often the loneliest individuals in any room. Their control mechanisms work so effectively that even they begin to believe their own emotional performances, losing touch with their authentic feelings until they become strangers to themselves, perfectly controlled but completely disconnected from the emotional experiences that make life meaningful. Understanding this final dark truth about Capricorns reveals why their other psychological patterns exist and how they all serve the ultimate goal of maintaining emotional control at any cost. Their calculating approach to relationships, their decades-long grudges, their imposter syndrome, their image maintenance, and their silent superiority all function as defensive systems designed to prevent the emotional vulnerability they fear more than death itself. Topic 6. The complete picture and your voice matters. These 6 devastating truths paint a picture of Capricorns that most people never get to see. A psychological landscape filled with calculated relationships, decade-long revenge plots, crushing imposter syndrome, image-driven self-sacrifice, silent superiority complexes, and impenetrable emotional fortresses. What emerges isn't a portrait of villains, but rather deeply complex individuals whose greatest strengths and most admirable qualities are inextricably linked to their darkest psychological patterns. The calculating nature of their relationships stems from the same mental processes that make them exceptional strategic planners and reliable partners. Their ability to hold grudges for decades reveals memory capabilities and pattern recognition that serve them well in professional environments where attention to detail matters. The imposter syndrome that tortures them also drives the perfectionism that produces their most impressive achievements. Their willingness to sacrifice happiness for image demonstrates a commitment to long-term thinking that other signs simply cannot match. Understanding these psychological shadows doesn't diminish Capricorns or excuse harmful behaviors. It humanizes them in ways that make their struggles more comprehensible and their achievements more remarkable. Every Capricorn success story becomes more meaningful when you realize it was accomplished while battling internal psychological warfare that would paralyze most other people. Every moment of apparent composure represents a victory over anxiety systems that constantly threaten to overwhelm their carefully maintained control. The tragedy lies not in these patterns existing, but in how rarely they're acknowledged or addressed. Capricorns spend so much energy maintaining their facades that they rarely get the support, understanding, or therapeutic intervention that could help them develop healthier relationship patterns. Society rewards their dysfunction while remaining oblivious to the psychological cost of their achievements, creating a system that perpetuates their isolation while celebrating their productivity. For those who love Capricorns, whether as friends, family members, or romantic partners. These insights offer roadmaps for deeper connection. Understanding their need for control can help you create safe spaces for gradual vulnerability. Recognizing their imposter syndrome can guide you toward offering validation in ways they can actually receive. Acknowledging their superiority complex can help you approach conflicts with strategies that don't trigger their defensive mechanisms. For Capricorns themselves, seeing these patterns articulated might offer the first steps towards self-awareness and eventual healing. Recognition is always the beginning of transformation, and understanding that these psychological mechanisms serve survival purposes can help reduce the shame that often prevents people from seeking help or making changes. The ultimate message isn't that Capricorns are damaged or dangerous. It's that they're profoundly human beings carrying psychological burdens that shape every aspect of their existence in ways both magnificent and heartbreaking. Their capacity for achievement, loyalty, and dedication exists alongside their struggles with vulnerability, trust, and authentic connection, creating individuals whose depths contain both tremendous darkness and extraordinary light. This exploration into Capricorn psychology represents just one piece of a much larger conversation about how astrological influences shape human behavior in ways that go far deeper than daily horoscopes or compatibility charts. Every sign carries its own psychological shadows, its own survival mechanisms, its own beautiful and terrible truths that deserve investigation and understanding. If these revelations have opened your eyes to new dimensions of Capricorn psychology, then our mission at Secret of the Zodiac has been accomplished. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the hidden psychological patterns that shape every zodiac sign. Hit that like button if this content has given you new insights into the Capricorns in your life or helped you understand yourself better. Most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments section. Are you a Capricorn who recognizes these patterns in yourself? Do you see these traits in Capricorns, Share your experiences, your observations, your questions, and your stories. The community we're building here thrives on authentic conversation about the complex realities of human psychology, as expressed through astrological influences. Check out our other videos exploring the dark truths of different zodiac signs, and consider supporting our work through super thanks. Your financial contributions help cover the costs of research, production, and daily content creation, allowing us to bring you more in-depth explorations of astrological psychology. Every donation, no matter the size, directly impacts our ability to continue this important work of understanding human behavior through the lens of cosmic influence.